very high nutritional needs. So it's important that we get the right portions, the right proportions of the right foods onto their small plates. So they have high nutritional needs. They need they need 3 meals a day, your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, but it's important that we give them nutritious snacks too. And I would just like to make a distinction here. We often refer to snacks as a wide range of everything, from your yogurt to your piece of fruit and to the chocolate bar. The chocolate bar is a treat food. It's a food that is high in sugar and should not be considered as a snack. So snacks are important and should be part of a child's healthy diet. So portion is important. Types of foods that we include in their small portions are important. There are different ways to look at it, Anna. So for a 5-year-old, they would need about half the size of a portion that an adult would need. Now, the tricky bit is often we as adults are not eating ideal portions. Portions kind of changed over the years, and we may need to resensitize ourselves again to what a portion should be. There are a few ways to do this. We can look at the food pyramid, and there's very interesting guidance in relation to portion sizes for different food groups. Our outstretched hand as the base of the plate. Yes. So you can go home and check, is this really what your plate looks like? Plates got bigger over the years.
Yes, they did.
So we can also use our safefood serving cup. Guys, there's one for each one of you at the audience. For everyone at home, my colleagues are going to share a link and you can order this cup for free.
This is actually brilliant because it's children and adults.
Children and adults, so you have the information for the child aged 1 to 4 on one side of the cup, and you have the information for the older child and the adults on the other side of the cup. So this reflects a serving of different foods, and of course you're going to need to require different servings. It's going to depend on the child's age, appetite. We do not need to force them, and their appetites are going to change from one day to the other. They are going to move more one day, move less the other day. They have different sizes.
Yes.
They have growth spurts, and they feel that they could eat anything, and then they may be a bit peckish the following day. So it's guidance, but very good tool to have at home.
So it
for
has
both
pasta,
adults and children.
rice, lentils, flaked cereal. So even if it's for yourself, it's a good reminder of what one portion of pasta, for example, should actually look like, because it's so easy to just keep pouring it into the pot.
It is, and it's uncooked. It's for uncooked pasta or rice,
raw.
So it's useful when you are planning your meals too.
Okay, brilliant. And the hand is brilliant. So an adult plate, the food on the plate should not exceed the size of your hand if you put it over.
And then half of that for a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And then of course you have to work up if your child is a bit older, or you have to make it a bit smaller.
So up or down
now,
from there.
We can look into specific examples too, Anna. Like we say that a portion of fruit, let's think about mandarins. I love mandarins.
Yes.
For an adult, a portion of mandarins is 2. For a small child would be 1. Let's think about the wheat biscuit. We all had breakfast this morning. It's 2 wheat biscuits for me. It would be 1 wheat biscuit for a small child, and then maybe 1.5 for the older child.
Okay.
So just
so
as
is
guidance.
a good rule of thumb, adult to child, usually a half of what
for
the
a
adult
5-year-old,
is having
and
for
then
a 5-year-old.
build up and down from there.
Yeah, that's a really good kind of just rule of thumb to keep in our
it makes
heads,
it.
isn't it?
If you need kind of an immediate rule of thumb to refer to.
Yes, we do. Okay, where are we going from there? I have a 5-year-old who eats very few vegetables. This is a question that's come in. Bar carrots and peas. Also, her water bottle comes home from school most days untouched. Have you any tips? I can relate to this actually. My kids regularly come home with the water bottle
With the water
barely
bottle.
touched.
Okay, so it's very important that we prioritize water and milk as the best drinks for children and for adults too, not just for children. Milk is brilliant, gives them some extra protein that they need to grow, also gives them calcium for their dental and bone health. They don't always like the water, so keeping it cool could help. For the younger child, maybe to allow them to pick their favorite bottle of water with some colors could be helpful. And then do they like some flavors? Do they like oranges? Could you slice some oranges and throw them into their water bottle just for a bit of flavor? Can you squeeze a few drops of lemon maybe to make it more interesting? Now, make it available at all times. Have it there when you're having your dinner or your lunch at home. drink water in front of your kids. Again, that role model.
They see it happening.
They see that it's something that you have routinely, and encourage them to sip. Are you a bit thirsty? Do you want a bit of water?
Yes.
That's all you can do, encourage.
Okay, constant reminders.
And then on the vegetables, now your child is already having 2 types of vegetables.
Yes, so it's not bad.
It's not like they are excluding completely all the vegetables. You could try to include different vegetables in soups, making them a bit chunkier so they can get used to different textures. You could try to include more of those vegetables if you're making a salad, and already trying some of the ones that they feel comfortable with, and like small portions, and don't send them to school. If you want, you mentioned carrots. Your child may like carrot sticks, for example, with cream cheese, and you may want them to try sliced peppers or a bit of cucumber with cream cheese. Don't send them to school. Do that at home, have some with them, or ask them, guys, we're going to try a different vegetable. Which one would you like to try? Involve them, get them, give them some autonomy to choose something.
To make that decision themselves, yes.
But also acknowledge that it's right not to like some foods.
Yes.
As long as
you're
adults
not,
do. As we do, absolutely. It's important not to exclude the full food group. That's the main concern.
Yes, okay. Being realistic, I suppose, about it.
Soups, sauces, things like bolognese are great to include loads
Sneaky
of vegetables. And you
Yeah.
have to be a bit sneaky about
But
it.
I did a lot of that, like blending in vegetables into dinners, and it's like the hidden vegetables, and it's going into them, and that's great. But then I found it quite hard to get them to just eat them in the normal form then.
Soups are a nice way to do that, and then they can become chunkier over time. And instead of blending everything, you half blend and you just mash, and then you don't really mash. So it's, and mix it with their favorite foods too.
Okay, that's a really good idea, actually. So make the vegetables get a little bit chunkier.
Over time, yes.
Until they've the full
You have
carrot.
to be smart. You can't go from blended to big chunks.
No, I
But
know.
yes, over time.
I jumped too quickly.
No.
Offer water and milk as drinks.
Yes, absolutely.
You covered that, but it's so
we
important.
We need to limit sugary fizzy drinks. We need to treat those as street foods. They are the same as a bar of chocolate or a packet of crisps. We don't need them for good health. Children definitely don't need them, and we should limit them to 1 or 2 occasions a week in very small amounts. But fizzy drinks, actually, and sugary drinks, I would avoid for as long as you can with small children.
Yes, and even if you're at parties for small children now, they don't have fizzy drinks for the most part. It's as the children get a little bit older, they seem to introduce them. Or like you say, it's a treat, but it seems to be a cordial maybe, or even if you have parties for younger children in play centres and stuff, it's like a cordial mix. Do you think that's okay for a party setting?
Once in a while, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just bear in mind that there are a lot of options of sugar-free options at the moment for different drinks. We should avoid those too. First of all, fizzy drinks are going to be harmful for our teeth.
Yes.
They are going to damage our teeth anyway. But children shouldn't get used to that very sweet taste of fizzy drinks, even if there is no sugar in them.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually.
Avoid all of them.
Because everything else then tastes different,
Yes.
And not quite as exciting, I suppose.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Limit treat foods, and we've touched on that as well, but we're coming off the back of Halloween, and I know in my house there's still these, dotted areas of sweets and treats and just pure sugar and junk. And it's kind of hard to eliminate them fast, isn't it, when they've, gathered up all of this trick-or-treat stuff?
It is, and they were in supermarket shelves since
everywhere.
September.
Yeah.
And then you already have the ones for Christmas, and then once Christmas is done, you'll have some promotions, and then you'll get the eggs for Easter. It's very difficult. They are everywhere, and they are heavily promoted too. Mm-hmm. And we as parents are exposed to those when we go into the supermarkets, the promotions, it's the placement. And my children are a bit older, and I think I wasn't as sensitized to what a small child is exposed, or what the supermarket looks like for a smaller child. I very recently had a nephew, So I got to spend more time with my 3-year-old niece because the parents have a small baby at home.
Yeah, lovely.
And I had to run to the supermarket to get it was a household product. It was either liquid for the dishwasher. It was not food related. So I wasn't even close to the chocolate or crisp section. So I have this 3-year-old that goes around, and at her height, she has different small stands with treats for Halloween. And she kept
at her
grabbing
level,
at her
height.
level. She's
Wow.
3, and she's a good height, but she wouldn't be a very tall girl. And she could pick them and say, oh, and she was saying to me, these are not good for us. She definitely had the voice of the mom or the dad saying these are not, but there was some sort of curiosity and, but they actually look good. They actually look well. So it's hard for the child to, and then it's going to be very hard for you guys as parents to manage that in the supermarket, because that's not the only thing you're managing here. You're managing the school uniforms, the crash runs, the food shopping, the cooking. I think being aware that we are surrounded by them, it's important to have that awareness, even to have the awareness that things have changed over the years. It wasn't like that when we were small. The quantity, the heavy promotions of those products, they are very cheap, and it's very hard then when you're trying to negotiate with your child. I think a conversation as a family is important. If your child is very young, you can't involve that child in that conversation, but if your child is old enough, you should involve them and plan. Those are treat foods, we're going to have them once in a while, we don't really need them. It's important to remind ourselves too that sometimes those foods can actually, and we spoke about small tummies and high nutritional needs, those foods can actually then displace other foods. Your child may have a sugary treat, and that's going to, of course, then impact how much they can manage for their snack or for their dinner. And they will be losing on important nutrients that they need for growth and development.
Of course.
So try to keep that in mind. See where you are at and be very realistic.
Yeah.
If I am doing treat foods with my family every day, I can't expect to go home to my children and say, from now on, only once a week.
Yeah.
It's not
so you
feasible.
can't do drastic changes like that.
Of course not.
No.
We need to make small changes at a time, involve them if we can. And then try to think about where we find our challenges. Is it in the supermarket? Can we go without the children? Is it at home? Maybe we should stop buying them and then we don't need to have those difficult conversations at home. Is it grandparents and neighbors and they do it with the best of intention?
Well, that's exactly what I'm thinking. So I think, and I'm not sure if it's an Irish thing or just a general human nature thing, but we seem to show love with food. And my parents are really guilty of it, just flooding the kids with treats. Neighbors do it. They go to parties or play dates. Everything is, and even my own children will say, can we get treats in because we're going to have a play date with X or Y? So it seems like the way to show your generosity or your affection for people.
I'm Portuguese. It's not an Irish thing. I can tell you that, Anna. It happens everywhere.
Yeah.
We have a very strong connection with food. We celebrate with food. You cannot think about any birthday party, any important, people have graduations recently, everyone goes out to have a nice meal, and that's fine, and that's absolutely fine. But we need to recognize with treat foods, we need to recognize that we are bombarded with them, we are too exposed, so are the kids, and they are not good for us and for our health. So we need to make a plan. It's not going to be perfect. As I said, identify and I wouldn't say that your parents are guilty. Your parents are trying to please their grandchildren. And, we do it with the best intentions.
Yes.
It's generosity, and we genuinely like to see the kids happy. There's no malice at all. But maybe involve your parents, involve your neighbor, involve your brother, if the uncle is the one who is treating your child outside of the home setting. And tell them what you're trying to do. And others, your neighbor may actually have the same challenges with their kids.
Yeah.
And there is power in having those conversations and being open about the challenges we face. I do take that grandparents do it to be the other relatives and neighbors, but parents tend to be the main culprits with treating. Okay,
that's
so
interesting. Yeah.
Let's keep that in mind too, and let's remind
so
ourselves
we give out
of
about
what
everyone
we
else.
do. but it's difficult. So be very realistic. And then you're going to have some weeks where you have so much. So you're going to have Halloween. It's going to be really hard to manage whatever plan you came up with during that week.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to manage that during Christmas. And that's fine. But then go back the following week and say, guys, remember we had this plan. We're going to try to do this again, and we're going to try our best.
And then they appreciate the treat foods when they do happen again, I suppose, rather than just making them a day-to-day, you know, normality, I suppose.
But it is difficult. It is difficult.
Yeah.
And it's difficult because they're everywhere. They're placed everywhere. And all we can do is to be more mindful
and they're sold
and try
in
our
bulk
best.
as well.
Yes.
In a way that they weren't when we were children, I don't think.
They are
you know,
heavily
you might be bought a
promoted,
treat in the shop by your parent or whoever, but they weren't bought in bags of 20 or, you know, the way supermarkets sell them now. It's very American almost.
And that's why it's important. And we spoke about those habits in early childhood, because your child is going to become independent. Mine are independent now, and they have their own money.
Mine are
and
not.
They make their own and they make their own choices when they go to the super. And kids do that from an early age. There's that transition from primary school into secondary school, where they go to the shop across the road and have some autonomy already in what they can choose, what they can buy. That's why those early habits, those routines, as much as we can as a family, are important. And it won't be perfect with us at home. It won't be perfect when they run to the shop with their money. But once in a while, they're going to think, gosh, now my mom told me this.
Yes, something will land.
And that's good.
Yeah, that's good. It's positive, isn't it? Kids with a very narrow food range. Explain that to me, first of all, because that's a new way of putting it, isn't it?
Yeah, so is your child limiting the foods that they are eating? And again, we go back to that conversation. Are they limiting a whole food group?
Yeah.
And are you concerned then? If your child is not eating any fruit and vegetables, you're going to have different concerns. There are important vitamins, important minerals that they should be having, that they are restricting, and that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. Because you do hear parents, don't you, saying, my kid doesn't eat vegetables, or my kid won't touch fruit, or they do eliminate full groups, which is your concern, right?
That would be a concern, because different food groups are going to provide, and they provide, of course, a range of good nutrients that you need. They provide energy. They may provide protein that's important for growth. So eliminating a full group is going to be a concern. Now, if your child does that, there are small things that you can do, and we mentioned those before. Talk to the child, agree to some things that the child can try. Now, it's not always that easy, and sometimes you may need the help, the support of a healthcare professional. And I would definitely ask parents that have a serious concern about their children restricting a huge amount of foods or a food group, to talk to their GP and to discuss what options that they may have. Okay,
that's a good point, actually. And also on the Safe Food website, there's loads of resources.
Absolutely.
There, and it's free.
We have a wealth of information, free resources that parents can use. And the tips are going to be around this. You know, it may take 15 to 70 tries for a child to get used to a certain flavor. Expose your little ones, and we're actually quite lucky to have very, very small children with us in the audience today. From the age of 6 months, expose them to as many foods as you can, and to use the family meal as the meal for your small child is absolutely fine. We actually have brilliant videos that touch on weaning, and we have children at weaning stage here with us today.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fine to just modify your main meal, your family meal. You don't need to be adding extra work for yourself and cook something different for a small child. So with that, you're already exposing them to a wider range of flavors. And then it's about exposing.
And you're only cooking one meal.
You should only cook
one meal. Because I really didn't get that on my first child. I had the baby meal and the family meal. And then you get a second child and you realize, I don't have time for this.
There's no way.
And then the third child is really like, you're just having it. But it's one meal for the whole family.
It's one meal
served
for the whole
up
family.
In a different way for the likes of this guy.
Yes, different portions, different textures. You blend initially. You may not use the full meal. I don't know, let's say that you're having some mince with some mashed potato and some carrots. Initially, if you're not giving your child the meat yet, you're just going to blend some of the mash and the carrots and give them a very smooth texture. But then you build on from that, and then you just mash the carrots. You don't, and then you just cut the carrots eventually. So make life easy for yourself too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's going to make sure that, first of all, they are eating at the same time, you're eating as a family. I did that for my first child. I used to have a different meal for him, and I would give him his dinner before we had our dinner. It was very time consuming. So no, by child 3.
And also, I think you get smarter about batch cooking. So making 2 or 3 of those same dinners, and then freezing some of it. And it's okay for a child to have the same dinner 2 or 3 days in a row, right?
Yes, that's fine too. That's fine too.
I was hoping you're going to agree with me there.
No, you need to make it practical for yourself too, because, and we said that before, it's not just food. You're thinking about creche, you're thinking about clothes, you're thinking about the house, time. The older child that needs to do the homework. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So you need to make it practical, but some of those practicalities, like not cooking a different meal for the child, using the family meal, adjusting the consistencies, will actually expose them to a wide range of flavors and textures and foods from a very young age. And that should have a positive impact.
That's a great start. Yeah. We have a question here, Joanna, from a mum who says, we have a toddler who's picky with what he eats, but only recently. He lives on crackers, toast with peanut butter, bananas, cheese, chicken, waffles, peas, and corn on the cob.
Okay.
How do you get him to eat a wider variety? I mean, that's not bad, is it?
We have fruit, we have vegetables, there's a bit of color. So it doesn't look like that child is excluding a whole food group. So that's good already.
Okay.
Now, it's quite limited. I think I only heard banana there in terms of fruit. And vegetables, was it just the corn maybe?
Corn and peas.
Corn and peas, okay. So it's what we say.
Sweeter veg.
And this is recent. So the child was eating a wider range of food, and it's now children do go through phases of liking and disliking things, and that's fine too. And then my advice would be to build on the foods that this child likes. So if your child already likes banana, try to mix the banana with a plain yogurt that doesn't have a very strong flavor. So you added something there. The child is eating peas. What goes well with peas? Maybe some carrots. And start small.
Yes.
Do not go half peas, half carrots, but very small. And carrot is sweet too. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's a tendency for more sweet vegetables. Start with those, a bit of turnip, small. Do it in a nice evening when you are having a family dinner. You're all trying. If the child is old enough, involve the child. Okay, we need to try a new vegetable. What do you want to do?
Yes.
Give the child some options. What color do you like? Will we go for orange? Will we go for white? Will we go for green? Give the child some options and try to build from the ones that the child is already eating.
That's really good advice, actually. Even in the supermarket, I suppose you could involve them in those decision-making processes.
Now, remember, in the supermarket, they will also be exposed to a wide range of treat foods.
Yes.
And I would say if you can go to the supermarket without a small child, you may be saving some headaches there.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay. Can I ask you just a personal question? So I have 3 boys. One of them in particular will look at something and decide he doesn't like it. Whereas the other 2 would be more open-minded. You know, they'll give it a chance, a new food, whatever that might be.
Does he do that often?
Regularly. He will just look at it and go, I don't like that. But it's just in the appearance he doesn't like, whatever it might be. So I think it was like a quiche, maybe. He's like, oh, I don't like that. We're like, but you haven't had quiche before, so why don't you try it? And the other 2 tried it and they were fine with it. But he just decides on appearance, I'm not going to like that.
Now, guilty as charged. I don't eat strawberries. I never did because as a child I thought they looked like a nose. It's fine to do that with one or 2 foods. So if it's just the quiche, and is it kind of the consistency that bothers him? Is it just the appearance?
I think he does it regularly enough with foods that he hasn't eaten before that he does not like the look of.
And how old is that child?
And won't give it a chance. Well, he's now 9, but he's been doing it from the time he was probably...
For a while.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
Okay.
And he's not a bad eater, by the way. Like, he eats all the food groups, but he just makes kind of decisions.
Very rushed decisions.
Yes.
And the fact that his siblings
and won't give it a chance.
Try and enjoy it, that doesn't swing
Doesn't change him at all. No.
You have to keep trying. I mean,
Yeah.
it's I don't have the right answer.
Just come
for
to my
that.
house and fix it for me, will you?
Try to make do you make I love making quiche. Try to make the quiche with foods that he likes.
Yes, so tweak it like
maybe
that,
negotiate that a bit. Look, I know you didn't want the quiche. It's a really easy thing for me to make on a Saturday with a bit of a salad. Tell me something that you really like that we can throw into that quiche.
Yes, okay.
Is it mushrooms? Is it cheese? Let him be part of the decision. Invite him to cook the quiche with you.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Tell him, look, what's in quiche? Eggs. You like eggs.
Yes.
What are we going to do? We're going to do a bit of shredded chicken. You like chicken. So bring him to the kitchen, get him to do a bit of the cleaning with you to help you. And maybe that's going to change his mind or make him more prone to try it.
Okay, brilliant. I will do, and I'll report back.
Tell me.
I want to move on to vitamins because as adults, we're bombarded everywhere we go, aren't we, with ads for vitamins, and whether you're taking them or not, you feel like you should be. With children, I think it's even harder to know. Do you need to succumb to every single ad you see for every children's vitamin?
No, you don't.
Or what do they need?
So the guidance is very, very clear. You need to supplement your child with vitamin D. For the child aged 1 to 4, for the younger child, you need 5 micrograms of vitamin D, a supplement that you can get at the pharmacy. And you need to do that during the winter months. And that's between Halloween and St. Patrick's, kind of two things that children definitely celebrate and can help you remember those winter dates.
So start now if you haven't started.
Start now if you haven't yet. 5 micrograms. Your pharmacist will be able to help you with the right supplement for your child.
Okay.
It could be drops for the younger child, and that's absolutely fine. And then for the older child, 10 micrograms, again, during the winter months. I see a mom breastfeeding there, and I'm going to, no, that's very good. And I'm going to guess that your child is under 10 months. Oh. So if the child has less than 300 milliliters of formula, so if you're doing a mix of breastfeeding and formula, the baby will also need supplementation. Less only if they are doing less than 300 milliliters of formula. Infant formula is already has added vitamin D. Okay. So if the child does more than 300 milliliters, there is no requirement to supplement.
It's a good guide, isn't it? You know yourself. Yeah, well, there you go.
Well done. Yeah. Well done. It's not easy. So.
Hello. She's joining the chat. Brilliant. I'm smiling. What about ourselves, by the way, just while we're on it? Because mums can look after everybody in the house and forget themselves.
So I said 10 micrograms for the older child. So the child aged up to 11, then 10 micrograms. And for us, it's 15. So for the adolescents, from the age of 12, and we would also need 15 during the winter months.
Okay, we need to remember that, don't we? Look after
ourselves. It's important, very important for our bone health too.
Of course. Let me see if there's any questions here. Any questions in the audience, by the way? Oh, do you have a question?
You have a question.
What would you say? We mentioned the quiche. Just jump in, anyone who has a question.
You do love quiche.
Yeah, I'm just coming back to the quiche because I'm thinking about you cooking dinners. What would you say? Because I don't know whether everybody feels this, but you know, when you're coming home from work and my husband's expecting me to have dinner, I'm expecting him to have dinner, and neither of us have dinner, basically. It happens quite regularly. So in terms of a quick, healthy dinner, I'm throwing this at you now without any rehearsal, but I know you'll know these answers because you live it.
A quick, healthy dinner. I actually have something brilliant there that parents have, and parents at home will be able to order. You can actually check the recipes on our website too. We have a brilliant book called 101 Square Meals, easy, quick, affordable recipes for every family. Mm-hmm. And it's my go-to when I want to do something different. Okay. And you have breakfast, you have vegetarian meals, you have beef, you have turkey, you have fish. You have 101 meals.
Brilliant.
Basically, you have cold dinners, salads, ideas for lunchbox. So everything is there. I would definitely recommend that. But then what do you need to do for
in the bags today, is
that's in the bags for the parents today, and for everyone watching at home. They can check it on our website. but it can also be ordered from our ordering platform.
Yes,
So
because I
keep
think
that
you
in
can run
mind.
into the supermarket, which I do regularly, to buy dinner, and you're just bombarded, and you're in a hurry. You want to make healthy choices, but it's sometimes easier to buy the quick fix.
And that it requires a bit of homework before you go to the shop. Planning your week, looking at what you have in your fridge, in your presses, in your freezer. What can you cook that week with the foods that you already have?
Yes.
And then to bring, and children get
But
bored.
that's a fine art.
One of my kids told me a few weeks ago, you always cook the same thing every week. And I said, no, I don't. No, we had this grilled chicken.
All kids give out, don't they?
We didn't have it for like 3 weeks. And she's like, yeah, but 3 weeks, it's very rare.
Very recent.
It's not. So it is important to include some variety. Don't be too hard on yourself. There are practical things that you can do. A bag of frozen vegetables has the same nutritional value as fresh vegetables.
Does it actually?
It does. From a nutritional point of view, they are frozen very quickly after they are harvested. And they do maintain the nutritional quality. You don't worry about them going off a few days after you buy them. And they are so quick to, or so easy to use for a quick stir fry, for a soup. So try to make your life easy. If you don't need to be peeling and cutting vegetables, and you can use some frozen vegetables.
Yes.
For a soup or for a bolognese, if you buy the carrots and the mushrooms, for example, they're very affordable too. So don't be afraid to make your life easy with some of those, rather than going for the pre-cooked meal. Batch cooking is a good idea. So if you have the facility,
I'm always proud of myself when I batch cook. Does everybody feel like that? You literally feel like you're winning at life, don't you?
If you have the capacity, and it's not going to be every week, you're going to have weekends where you don't have that capacity at all. Do try to cook maybe for 2 meals during the week and make your life easy there. The most important thing is to include variety, to make sure that you have some pasta, some vegetables, some meat or some chicken or some cheese or some eggs.
Yes.
So to have a balanced plate for you and for your child. But yes, make it quick if you can, and don't be afraid to look for those easy ones like the frozen vegetables.
And when you're in the supermarket, can I ask you this? You're going around with your trolley and you're picking up your basics, you know, the template of your kitchen cupboards, I suppose, that you'll be able to rustle up meals from for the next few days. What would you say are the things that we all should be throwing into our trolley when we're feeding a family?
Your trolley should reflect your plate, and you could say roughly 1/3 of your trolley, between 1/3 and 1/2, should be fruit and vegetables, right? Then you need a bit of that shelf that gives you the protein. So a bit of fish, a bit of meat, a bit of chicken, some eggs. You need dairy products. So you need your milk, you need your cheese, you need your yogurts. And then you need those sources of energy. You need some bread, you need some pasta, you need some potatoes, some rice. Go for the ones that will give you more fiber. We tend not to eat a lot of fiber in Ireland, but it's not just Ireland, it's in most European countries. So choose brown rice. And if you don't routinely use brown rice at home, make that a gradual change. Maybe do that once a week to start, and then increase to twice a week. Go for wholemeal pasta, brown bread, so good quality cereals and breads and pastas.
Do you know, you're so right about making that switch. I switched from regular pasta, what would you call it, white pasta, to wholemeal pasta. Nobody, including my husband, noticed any difference.
No.
So that's a really easy, healthy switch, isn't it?
And you can start by cooking half and half with the pasta. Is very easy. They would have similar cooking times. So you just tell them that, you have different colored pasta today.
Yeah, it's more exciting tonight.
It's so exciting and nice.
Okay, we have questions coming in, so I better look at my screen here. Am I looking at the right one? Hold on. Hold on. Sorry, Laura, I seem to have lost our... Laura knew she was going to have to make an appearance here at some stage. Sorry, I was looking for the questions. Am I throwing the sound box out? Are you going to... Okay. You're going to catch?
You were dying to do that.
I love this.
So we have a question about is quantity of salt a problem for a family meal for toddlers?
Yes, so we shouldn't really be adding salt to our foods. A lot of the foods we eat that have been processed to a certain degree will already have some salt. Bread is an example, cereals will have some salt. So there is no need to add salt to any meals. It's not just toddlers, to any meals.
Even our adult meals?
No, we shouldn't, and we should definitely stay away from the salt at any table that we see in a restaurant or a coffee shop.
Okay, because it's already seasoned anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
What we can do to make meals a bit more exciting is use loads of different herbs to give different flavors to our food, a bit of pepper, something like that.
And there's nutritional value to herbs quite often, isn't there? There's something to be had from it.
It's more flavor than anything.
Yeah.
More flavor than anything.
And it's not bad for you.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. No.
Brilliant. Is there another question there, Laura, that I can't see?
There are other things you can do if you're doing a bit of salmon that you baked in the oven, even a bit of lemon on top of the salmon, for example. But definitely stay away from salt for everyone, not just toddlers, for everyone.
So we're vegetarian, but our children eat meat in creche. How much meat should they be getting a day? They're 2 and 5.
So it's fine for a young child to be vegetarian, and the portion for meat, and I'll give you the exact amount here, because it varies according to the age of the child. For a very young child, we are talking about 30 grams of cooked beef. If you were talking about cooked beef, for example, or lamb or chicken, we are saying the same, we would include the same amount of salmon, for example. And then because your child is vegetarian, you may be using things like tofu or beans or lentils, and the amount would be slightly higher. So we would recommend about 40 grams then. And 1 egg would be a portion too. 1 egg would be a serving.
Great. And there's an interesting one here about childcare spaces, so creches, nurseries that are serving biscuits, sweetened yogurt, fried food. So there's a question about when will there be kind of guidance for these spaces?
Well, very, very timely. The Department of Children and the Department of Health published guidance standards for what meals should be like in early learning and care settings. And this includes the home of the childminder. So the departments, the HSE and Safe Food are in the process of developing more supports, including menu plans, to support the implementation, to support how creches, how those services can provide nutritious food to young children. But there was definitely already a commitment for years not to include those foods. And I think it's okay for a parent to say, actually, my child should not have that food in creche. No child should have that food in creche.
Great. And there's one more here I'll touch off. Suggestions for a family where the parents have different food tastes. So dad will offer treats, mom is trying to offer healthier options. Mom eats lentils and pulses, the dad won't. How do we go about that?
I don't really want to get involved in that conversation. I think mommy really needs to talk to daddy. Yeah. I think we need a bit of a compromise there. We can't, and we spoke about making small changes, so they are acceptable. And I think dad needs to commit to a few small changes. We'll ask mom to give dad some time to get used to those changes and to get some autonomy, to give him some autonomy in relation to what he wants to change. But there's definitely a need to commit to something. And dad needs to keep in mind that he is a role model for his children, that his children can see what he eats. It's absolutely fine for people to have different tastes, but it's very hard to be cooking different meals at home. Tell dad that pulses are brilliant. They are a great source of vitamins, minerals, and protein. They are low in fat. They are very affordable and very versatile. Start including those lentils in a bolognese, and that can have a bolognese that is half meat and half lentils.
Perfect.
See, I think that question, and I know we're smiling and laughing about it, but they're like, it's so reflective of families.
Absolutely.
There's a good cop and a bad cop, isn't there? And quite often Daddy comes in with the treats and the goods, and the kids are excited, and again he's showing his love and affection for them, and he hasn't been around all day, and Mum is like, thanks a million, they're not going to eat their dinner now. But it does happen. It's real life, isn't it?
It does. But there's. I remember very recently we had a campaign called Start, and it was all around healthy eating habits and supporting parents. And one of the ads we had was about the mom having to be the bad guy and saying no, and the mom had to be a hero. But there was, that mom felt very empowered by the fact that she could do it. So instead of being the bad cop, see it as being the hero at home.
Yes.
You're taking charge.
Setting them up to be heroes. Healthy heroes. Top tips, just before we finish up. I know people have to run and collect children and everything else, so we don't want to keep people too long. And for those at home as well, your top tips, what would you...
So my top tip...
You've given us loads already.
I think if you can leave today with something that you would like to do at home, for me, the top tips would be definitely to make treats again. And I know that it's a big ask, and I know it's not easy, but if you try and do that, that's huge already. And keep in mind then, one that I think it's a bit easier, best drinks, milk and water.
Yes, milk and water,
if we start with those, but again, those are my top tips for you today. But I would love you to go home and to think about what you want to do.
Yeah.
And maybe one this month and maybe another one next month. Take it easy.
And it's not about perfection, it's just progress, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Just tiny changes.
Absolutely.
And everyone's singing off the same hymn
Small,
sheet.
gradual changes, and acknowledge that it's not easy, that you're trying your best.
Yeah.
And you're not alone. It's not easy for anyone. You're not doing anything wrong, and you're not doing anything on your own. Yeah. We're all trying our best.
We're all in together, aren't we? There are loads of information, because I know people can Google, when you're in a hurry and you just want a quick answer, and we've all done it, haven't we? You're looking to Google to answer your quick question, whatever it might be. And you can go off into all sorts of sources that aren't necessarily legit. So I think Safe Food is probably a really good space to be on in terms of getting, valuable, proper information that's correct and reliable. And there's also the newsletter that people can sign up for as well, isn't there?
Food-wise, it's the Safe Food newsletter. You'll get loads of information. If you're looking for something and you can't find it on our website, don't be afraid of getting in touch through social media or our information email or our helpline. If we don't have it, we'll try our best to get it for you, or we'll look at other partners that may have that information or that resource or that activity that can support you. So don't be afraid to get in touch. And do follow us on social media. My colleagues in comms do a great job at having new content, fresh ideas on how you can do things for yourself and for your family. So it's worth.
And it's just some inspiration. That's all we need. Sometimes a flash of something and you go, oh, that's great, actually, I'll do that.
Try this.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone gets the book and the cup, the serving cup here today. But also for those at home, they can order it off the website, safefood.net.
Safefood.net.
Brilliant. We have some prizes, I think, for those of you who have turned up. Do you want to do those now? Yeah? Brilliant. Okay. So thank you to those of you who are sitting in your kitchen. Hope you enjoyed your coffee. Hope you took something away from this. And like I say, all of the information on safefood.net. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Joanna.
Thank you.
Thank you.